Hey, another beautiful day in quarantine here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're not tearing each other's hair out. I know this is pretty rubbish for everyone. But in the meantime, we've got another video, another big question. If there's anything that you'd like us to do a future video on, then do get in touch. Otherwise, we'll just crack on with it, shall we?
Last week, our big question was all about God. Who is he and what's he like? But this week, the question is about us.
Who am I?
And not just who am I, but also who are you and what is a human? To answer this question, we're going to go all the way back to Sunday school and learn a little something from our old friends, Adam and Eve. It's Bible time.
What?
For a very, very long time, a lot of very, very clever people have been arguing about the book of Genesis. But the creation story was never supposed to be a science textbook. It's not biology, and it's not geology. The creation story is theology. Now, theology just means ideas about God. So what is this story trying to tell us about him and about us as well? Now, the first thing to say is that when God made human beings, he makes us with a unique purpose in mind. Unlike any of the other animals, we are made to reflect his personality and his character, to take care of his creation in a kind, generous and creative way, just like he does. The Bible says when God created human beings, he created them God-like, reflecting his nature. He created them male and female. He blessed them and said, prosper, reproduce, fill the earth, take charge, be responsible for fish in the sea and birds in the air, for every living thing that moves on the face of the earth. In other words, reflect your Father's personality in all you do. We all have family characteristics, things that we share with our parents or our siblings. And perhaps you can see some of my family characteristics from this photo. Pause the video here and just have a think about some of the things that you share with your family. If you're watching as a family, do it together. So Adam and Eve are just sitting around the garden in perfect relationship with each other and with God, and just teaching the animals to do tricks. But there enters a liar, and you'll know that in the story it's a snake. And he just tells a very simple lie. You can be your own boss. You don't have to be God's doormat. You can be the center of your own universe. And Adam and Eve, they buy it. They believe the lie. Now the problem was not that they ate some fruit. The problem was that they believed the lie that they could be like God. And from that moment on, the whole world order is turned upside down. And instead of humans living under the care of their father the way they were designed, they now have to go it alone. When you take something out from its original design, there's always a whole heap of problems. And humans are no different. It's a bit like using my wife's hair straighteners to eat this jar of pickles. It actually kind of works, and the only real drawback is that her hair ends up smelling like vinegar and the tongs burn my mouth. But it's not what the hair straighteners were designed for, so I'm always going to run into those problems. For human beings, the problems are a lot more serious. Rejecting God as our Father has led to three things: self, separation, and suffering. So, number one, self. Instead of listening to our Father's voice in all we do as we were designed, we are now in charge of our own lives and at the center of everything we do.
But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being in charge of my own life? That just means that I get to live my best life, doesn't it? Well, if I'm trying to live my best life, and you're trying to live your best life, and he's trying to live his best life, then eventually one of us is going to trample on the others to get what we want. And that's what we see in the world around us, isn't it? That's the source of so many problems with humanity. Human beings love power, we love wealth, we love significance, we love influence, we love having a platform and followers. But we can't be at the centre of our own universe for too long before we start to look around and go, do you know what, this actually is rubbish, I'm really bad at this, I hope no one notices, I feel really alone and scared. But then God comes along and his invitation is like, look, you are trying to wear a crown that's too heavy for you. Let me be the centre of your universe again, let me be your father, let me take care of you.
The second big consequence of rejecting God as Father is separation. We no longer enjoy the closeness with God and with each other that Adam and Eve once did.
Perhaps you watched last week's video and you thought, actually, my experience of God is not as a father. Sometimes it feels like my prayers are just hitting the ceiling and going nowhere. Because human beings, we're in this weird limbo where we're designed for God and our greatest desire is for Him, whether we know it or not. But we're separated from Him. We can't quite access Him the way that maybe we would like.
Now, the good news is that God is always moving towards us to remove this separation, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more next week. The third consequence is suffering. Now, this is a massive topic, and I think we're going to probably cover it in a bit more detail in a future video. But for now, I'll just say this. In many ways, suffering is like the fire alarm of the world. It's the thing that tells us that everything is not as it should be, that there's something quite wrong with the world around us. And so for as long as the world continues to reject God, we'll continue to live with this most awful of consequences.
At this point, a lot of people ask, well, where does evil even come from? Like, if God made everything, it must come from Him, right? Well, hold your horses a second, because God has made us free to love. God has made us free to desire things. And we love all sorts of amazing things, really good, healthy things like the sunshine and connection with other people and the smell of shampoo. God had to give us a choice in what we love, because otherwise we'd just be robots. We have to be able to choose Him, otherwise it's not a proper relationship, it's just enforced. So this is always an invitation. This is always something that God says is optional.
Pause the video here. If a relationship with God is something He is inviting us to, have you said yes? And if not, what would make you consider it?
Okay, that's it for this week. I would say like and subscribe and all that stuff, but it's not really that sort of YouTube channel. So have a great week. Bye-bye.